excited and grateful for this one. Selfishly for me, because I want to learn from Emily how you did a quantum jump with your business from 60K a year to 350,000 in 8 months, which is super amazing. But you also have been a Harvard lecturer, and you're like a supernatural human being, a beast of a being. So I'm super excited to dive deeper into your gifts and get to know more of your work and introduce you to the group. So yeah, guys, if you're watching this, drop a hashtag live and ask any questions, because we'll get our questions answered. Literally any question answered. And I have some questions on my little sticky note, selfishly for myself, because Emily is using the Akashic Records. So would you love to share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what are the Akashic Records?
Oh, yes, it's my favorite thing in the world. All right, I'm just making sure that I'm connected here so I can see all of your beautiful comments coming in. First of all, Miro, thank you for this collaboration, the opportunity to share with your platform. I feel very honored to have just met you recently, and you and I had a beautiful bond that just took over. We must have had a past life together at some point in time. Probably like many of you out there, because when we do find ourselves in each other's circles, in each other's communities, there is work that we have to do together. There are opportunities that we have to up-level each other. And I am so excited to share my zone of genius, which is in the Akashic Records. And not only will I give you all a little background on what the Akashic Records are today, but I also want to leave you with some really valuable tools. My story is a pretty powerful one in terms of quantum jumping. I also call this timeline jumping, which all of us have the opportunity to do right now. With COVID, how many times have you heard that the world is never going to be the same, that things have completely shifted and changed? This is evidence of a timeline collapse. And the beautiful thing is that you have the opportunity to, with your quantum energy, call in that timeline that you want to experience. I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do that today with the Akashic Records. So for those of you who are new to this idea of the Akash and the Akashic Records, Akash is a Sanskrit word that means ether. And ether is the primordial energy. The four elements, earth, wind, water, fire, all stem from the space of the ether. And the Akashic Records are specifically the realm of consciousness where all information has been programmed in this etheric space. So every detail of your past, your present, all future possibilities, which there's plenty of wiggle room in our future, which is a good thing, exist in this realm of consciousness known as the Akashic Records. When we learn to shift our consciousness and go into lucid states of meditation, we can actually instantly download any and all information that we're looking for. And there were some fabulous people in the history of humanity who learned to tap into this space. Those people are known as Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Steve Jobs, just to name a few. I always say your results may vary, but we do all have the ability to alter our consciousness and move into this field and bring forward advanced levels of creativity, which those three beings that I shared with you were all, scientists who were learning to tap into this space and receive very high levels of understanding about how the universe works. And they were able to bring that back into this 3D world that we're experiencing and create and offer really powerful new solutions, new technologies to humanity. Now, the records are also incredibly useful for, can I curse on here? I didn't ask you before, Tam.
Yes, you may. Yes.
Awesome. This is walking through your shit. That karma, the cycles, the repetitive cycle where you find yourself continuing to come up against your limitations, against your own resistance, whether that is creating a dis-ease in your business where you are experiencing scarcity, not able to move beyond the ceilings that we all set in place for ourselves, or whether you have taken on a belief system about yourself that is not true somewhere along the way, and that false belief system has created or manifested a disease, dis-ease, physically or emotionally in your body. And that has been some of my most profound access points in the records, is figuring out where did I take on this false belief system about myself? And Furthermore, what is the medicine, what is the antidote that I need to clear this and move this out of my field? So one of the tools that I will leave you with today is the exact protocol, the exact medicine that I downloaded from the space of the records to clear my own ceilings of success. And that's exactly how I had this huge quantum leap. And I'm excited for each one of you because, like I said, timelines have collapsed. And entrepreneurs, as well as storytellers, those are my two favorite people on the planet, because entrepreneurs and storytellers are truly the ones who create the culture here on the planet. We think it's the government, we think it is, those who are in high-level roles of leadership, and it doesn't exactly look like that. If you think of Hollywood and you think of the stories that we see through movies or novels or art that we take in, this is what inspires the collective to imagine and reimagine the world that we're living in. And furthermore, the entrepreneurs are the ones who create services, create opportunities to give back to the planet, to give their genius back to the planet, and offer the opportunity for the rest of the collective to experience an up-leveling in some unique form or fashion. So I'm really here to inspire each one of you today who has stepped into entrepreneurship to learn how to tap this level of intelligence through using your intuition so that you can stand in the genius that you were here to share with the planet.
Excellently. Well said, Emily. There's so many amazing nuggets in what you just shared. And just to bring forward some of our connection points too, I thought was inspiring to me is that you just so happened, right, to also come from sort of Missouri to go to California, and you're also right, and it's also being a parent and navigating your business growth at this accelerated rate while navigating your sort of own awakening and tapping into your spiritual powers. It's such a unique journey, but again, that I think I also know I'm not the only one that's going through an experience like that. So I just wanted to call that forward. And then with what you said, there's a couple of things, one, clearing your shit, and yes, feel free to curse here, be yourself.
Thank you.
That has been one of the most profound things in my own, growth as an entrepreneur and as a person, as a dad, as a whatever label you want to include, because it's just so, it's reminding us how powerful we are in creating our life experience in the day-to-day, where we get triggered, where we get scared or whatever, where we start slowing down or playing small or self-sabotaging. Those are all things that we can, completely shift, and that's been creating the greatest change in my life so far. And so I'm very excited to learn your medicine and how you do that. And then retreats, I think that's cool. So you have a Sedona retreat, and hopefully we'll dive into that a little bit more deeper later, where you activate people, and that's all super fun stuff. So where do we begin? I kind of want to go right into the shit.
That's you. Well, I'd love to say hello to anybody who's here. So please drop a comment in, say hello, let me know, let Miro know where you're tuning in from. This is actually a really important part of the process because we can begin to see where we're connecting grid points of consciousness together on the planet. So please say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we will, of course, dive right in. So in addition to being an entrepreneur, I've also been gifted in this lifetime with the opportunity to be a storyteller. And Miro shared that I am originally from Missouri, small town Missouri. I left college when I was 19 years old because it was just too inside the box for me. I did not feel like I was getting the experience out of life that I wanted. And one day, as I'm sitting at a stoplight, turning into my off-campus apartment, all of a sudden life completely makes sense to me. I realize who I truly am. I'm an actress. I'm bailing on Missouri. I'm going to Hollywood to seek my fame and fortune. And so I spent 20 years in Hollywood as an actress. And growing up in small town Missouri, I was really indoctrinated into religion, Southern Baptism, to be very specific. My mama was a Sunday school teacher, so I was all up in that church. But yet there was a very rebellious part of me as well that was sneaking out of my house and doing all of the things that teenagers in small towns do. I don't know if any of you out there from a small town and you know those antics that I'm talking about, but I definitely had really both sides of my personality very alive. I loved being in that space of being in spirit, Yet the indoctrination of organized religion didn't really work for me, and I was always a very rebellious kind of person. And I think that spirit is what really gave me permission to buck the status quo and take off from small town Missouri and go to Hollywood. So when I was in Los Angeles and working in the entertainment industry, I began to meet a lot of people who had a lot of different experiences in life that were completely polar opposite of how I grew up in the religious environment. And meditation became something that, and law of attraction, that was introduced to me. Which I don't know, again, if any of you guys have ever dabbled in an industry like Hollywood, but the competition in this space is fierce. And I knew that I needed some kind of an edge to learn how to manage my energy when I would walk into those audition rooms. And I found it through meditation. I found it through the law of attraction. So I began to become just a devout groupie to any kind of meditation practice, anything that allowed me to understand my own energy more dynamically and get a handle on it. I was there. I was into it. But many of you also, I know this is a very conscious, very elevated space, you know that when you spend that time in meditation and you really begin to go inward, eventually the essence, the truth of who you are is going to rise to the surface. And I began to see my psychic senses coming online, my intuition coming online in a way that I did not feel like I was born psychic, yet I couldn't deny that I knew things before they were going to happen. I couldn't deny that I had learned to move emotional distress out of my energy field in a way that felt almost magic. And there was a natural part of me that began wanting to do this for other people. So I had an experience one afternoon where a neighbor of mine, who I just knew from the neighborhood, he's walked his dog every day, and then all of a sudden he disappears. I didn't see him walking his dog anymore. And then 6 months later, he's hobbling down the street. And I say, "Hey, how you doing?" Which obviously he's not doing well. He's hobbling down the street, right? And he tells me, I fell and broke my ankle, and it's completely shattered. I'm having a hard time getting it to heal. So I said, "Do you want to come over for some energy healing?" Which I wanted to take back as soon as I said it. I'm like, "No, I'm an actress. What did I just say? I'm not an energy healer. I'm an actress." But he said yes. So he came over, and I just began to randomly, intuitively practice. I did not know specifically what I was doing. I was just following what felt like guidance coming through. And while he was in a state of meditation and I was having my own experience, I had a tuning fork, actually this tuning fork right here. And I was waving it around his ankle, and his father, who had passed, came into my awareness, into my imagination. And those psychic senses that I talked about, being able to see within your mind, being able to hear, to feel, to know things that are not physically happening in the field where our five senses are picking them up. This began to happen, and I had a full conversation with my friend's father. And after the energy healing session was over, I did mention that his father had come into my awareness. And my friend went home. I went to the bathroom. His dad follows me into the bathroom, which I didn't really appreciate at that point. I'm like, "Come on now, where's my personal space here?" But this being that was in my imagination, in my awareness, kept on me to say, "Please reach out to him and share with him the conversation that we had." So I did. I acted again on that intuitive nudge that I couldn't let go of. And during the time when I was talking to my neighbor and sharing the information that his father had brought forward, every single piece of it was validated. And at that point in my life, it became completely apparent to me that when we spend time going into our own energy on the quantum level, the things that become possible for a human being, these ideas of being psychic and being able to heal ourselves, knowledge that is resurfacing here on the planet but has been suppressed for many, many years, became the forefront of what I wanted to share with people. I wanted to inspire others to begin learning how to work this magnificent technology, the human body. We spend more time learning how to operate our iPhones than we do how to really use the genius that we've been given. So I immediately began to look for some kind of an energy certification course. I didn't exactly know what it was, but I knew that I would know it as soon as I saw it. And I was flipping through a magazine that I'd picked up in Hollywood. And in the back, there are courses for becoming a yoga instructor, courses for becoming a Reiki master. And I didn't really resonate with any of those. And then I was like, bam, Akashic Records, that's it. As my mom had gifted me an Akashic Record session maybe 15 years prior. Of course, I used that session to really be like, when is my career going to unfold the way that I wanted to? When is the next big break coming? What I didn't realize was that there was an initiation that had already happened to me within that space of the Akashic field. And so as I dove in and really began to up-level my own understanding by finding a mentor who could teach me how to begin working with this space of the Akashic field, I realized that this is the technology that is going to level hierarchy here on our planet. And that's a big stretch. So let me fill in some gaps for you. What we experienced when Donald Trump was elected president, he invested so much money into Cambridge Analytics, which is a data collection company, right? So they began to collect data on social media of people that were known as impressionables. But the fact that he had spent so much money on this actually shifted the ranking of resources and their value on our planet, so that for the first time ever, data, information became more valuable than oil, more valuable than gold.
Wow.
And the connection that I made was, once every person realizes that they have access to the same amount of information through tapping into the Akashic field, we will level the hierarchy here on the planet. We will not be able to lie to each other. We will not be able to suppress any amount of technology here on the planet. And it became a mission, a burning mission within me to return this technology of the Akashic Records to the planet. So now I work with visionaries, thought leaders, and difference makers, teaching them how to access this field so they can not only bring in advanced levels of technology that our world needs right now, but also learn to see, what is your mission? What are you here on the planet for? And begin to embody that genius and understand it in a way that many people haven't explored or understood before.
Absolutely. So there's so much gold in there, and I love you sharing your story, and you absolutely are such an amazing storyteller. That's great. I just did a session with a friend of mine, and I think she's watching, and I remember having this experience myself, sort of tuning in, into what I can only refer to as, source, the creator of the universe, and asking for, what is my purpose? When I had this experience of like getting sort of God's confirmation of what my purpose is during this life, and then aligning myself with it, literally like miracles started happening. And this has been my experience as a child, coming from the streets of Germany to America without resources and anything, and just like tuning into what my dream and my purpose was, and all of the sources started showing up. And now, with my ability and yours, to be able to tune into, the higher levels of intelligence and asking for one's purpose in their life, that can be such a profound, dramatic shift in just being aligned with what's really for you. And so life doesn't feel so freaking hard anymore. And like you're pushing this rock up a mountain, like I remember when I was working in corporate America, I felt like I was like Aquaman trying to lift Thor's hammer, right? It's like, why is this so heavy? It's not working for me. Like, I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not worthy, right? But then, in doing this journey and going deeper into my spiritual gifts and intuition, I discovered that I'm Aquaman and I'm meant to rule and find my trident. You know what I mean? And like life started freaking flowing. And it's made a world of a difference for me to double down on diving deeper into this work. And build a six-figure business off the back end of that awareness that I was just not in the right place. I was not in my element. So I want this for everyone. We have some people tuning in. We have Janice saying hi from Huntersville, from Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got Ella watching. What's up? Anna's here from Kansas City. She's my friend. Say what's up, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
And yeah, so I know we have many people going to be tuning in from the replay. So what's up to you guys too? Let us know where you're from. So again, big thanks for sharing that story. And let's get right into the juice, right? Can we, I know there's a lot of possibilities you've mentioned with using the Akashic Records. You can get access to intelligence. You can speak to people who have perhaps passed on, or sort of other beings. You can, ask for guidance. You can have your questions answered. So maybe you got some silly questions that people ask. What are some of the sort of best ways that you find, like maybe the right question? I don't know if there's such a thing, but what are some of the best ways that we can experience some of this work? Maybe it's in healing the shit, and maybe it's that way, but.
Well, the asking of the questions is really, really important, because one of the characteristics of the Akashic field is that it will completely respect our own free will, and it will not begin to drop information into our field until we're ready for it. So the asking of the questions is actually inviting that information forward. The records work by what's known as invitation only, and that's how we invite the information forward, is by actually asking the questions. James Redfield, have you guys read or seen the movie The Celestine Prophecy? It's a little older. I might be dating myself a bit here. But James Redfield, the author of that book, talks about the nature of our consciousness can actually be measured by the questions that we're asking. So there are right questions to ask when we're in the space of the records. If you all have questions, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and put those in, and I'll give you just some guidelines. Don't ask a yes or no question. When you have access to infinite intelligence, you can get so much more juice than just a yes or no question. So I'm going to invite you to dig in a little more, and I'm going to give you just a little bit more of a guideline. And that is, in order to get the most profound impact from the records, you've got to be willing to own your shit, realize that everything you are experiencing in life is something that you created, whether you meant to create it, perhaps it was a miscreation. I know a lot of times when people are experiencing a physical disease, it's hard to think, why would I ever create this? I didn't create this. But owning that we have created everything that we're experiencing is really important. So questions like, what was the gift in this circumstance? Why did I experience this difficulty? And what will begin to come forward is how your soul learned, how you grew through that experience. And while you guys are typing in some questions or getting more curious about this, I do want to leave you with some valuable tools in addition to answering your questions today. So I'll share how I actually made that leap, that quantum leap from 8 months into 350, or from 60K into 350K in 8 months. And what happened was every piece of my life broke down in a matter of about 3 weeks of each other. And I've been doing this work for quite some time. And I was taking it all very personally, like, what is going on with my karma here? Like, I feel like I'm a more evolved soul than to be still experiencing these things. But that breakdown, everything that broke down in my life, really was inviting me into an up level. And I knew this. I was at a place in my business where I was making consistent money, 4, 5, 6 grand sometimes a month, but it wasn't something that I was able to make a really, really big leap. And I wasn't in a place where I could support my entire family, which in the breakdown of my life, that's what I was being called into. And I had a choice. I knew that I could either figure out how to up level my business. I knew that I had this profound gift. I had knowledge that the planet needs, yet I didn't know how to break my ceiling of success. So I went into the records and began to get curious about, all right, where did I take on a false belief system about myself that says 60 grand is my ceiling of success? And instantaneously, my records showed that to me. So I shared that I was in Hollywood for 20 years. And one of the roles that I am best known for was also one of the roles that left the most trauma imprint on my life that I had ever experienced. And it was when I decided, and no offense against soap operas, if any of you out there are soap actors or you love your soap operas, but the experience that I had was taking a role on a soap opera that I truly didn't want. And I had actually said no to this soap opera 3 times before. And I had just had my first child. The soap opera came back asking again about, well, you got a kid now, Emily. Are you tired of slinging hash in the restaurant and going to auditions during the day? And I was. So I took the role that they offered. They offered me a very, very huge role on The Bold and the Beautiful. The young woman that I was replacing had won the Emmy 3 years in a row for this particular role. So it was a very high profile role. And I decided to take that role against my heart and what my heart said about why I had come to Hollywood and the kind of storyteller, the kind of actress that I wanted to be. Okay. I'm also going to get really vulnerable here with you guys. That baby that I had, I was not married. We were still together, but I was not married when I had that baby. And I told you, I grew up immersed in the Southern Baptist Church. I had belief systems that said, Emily, you should be ashamed of yourself. So there were these two very deep wounds, vulnerabilities that I was trying to reconcile with myself. But truly, I did both of those things I had felt very ashamed about. Furthermore, I took this role, I told you, again, against what my intuition told me, and tried to make it okay, tried to be like, oh no, this is really a good thing, this is my big break. I sent Soap Opera Digest magazines back to all my friends and family back in Missouri, small town Missouri, so they could follow along with my success, which very quickly became one of my biggest failures. The audience was very unhappy with the recast. I didn't feel like I was fitting in or doing my best in this role. And it wasn't very long of being in that position when rumors started to circulate that they were going to fire me. So all my friends and family back home were reading about me about to get fired. And here I am trying to reconcile and trying to negotiate with myself about making all of this okay. And truly, this shit was not okay with me. But 26-year-old Emily, I'm 43 years old now, 26-year-old Emily did not have the tools or resources to learn how to release this traumatic energy from my body and how to get back in alignment with my authentic self. And eventually I did get fired from the show. And so that left an imprint on me where I said subconsciously, nope, I will never make any more money than this. And I was making more than 60 grand a year there, just to let you know. But not that much more, really. I think I was making 100K at that point, right? So there was a part of me that said, I will never get that big again because it hurts too bad. And as soon as my records revealed that to me, I'm like, oh, wow, that makes so much sense. Okay, great. But now what do I do about it? So that was the next question, which is, how do I release this from my body? Of course, there are many different healing modalities and techniques that we can use, but I believe that we all need to find our own inner shaman. We need to find our own medicine.
Yes.
I asked for a protocol from the Akashic Records to help me clear this energy that was coming up. And so I'm going to take you all through that process if you want to go right now. Excuse me. And then we'll answer some questions for you guys coming up. Okay.
Love it. We're already getting some questions. Some people are loving this. And Anna says, your story is so eye-opening. Thank you so much for sharing, Emily. And then we have a question from Janice, but we'll get to you, Janice. Super awesome.
Beautiful. Yes, Janice, we will definitely get to you. So I want you to, if you want to use this protocol to clear success energy for yourself, great. If you feel like there's something else coming up that you want to clear, some other trauma, this will work for any trauma that you have, okay? But first, I want to share with you the understanding of the trauma, the memory of the trauma. It's called somatic memory. It gets stored in the soft tissue of the body, and your DNA will actually replicate that. Your cellular structure will replicate that. So even if you feel like enough time has gone by and you don't really think about that anymore and you're over it, it could even be a relationship that you experienced. The truth of the matter is that memory is stored in your soft tissue. So the records began to bring forward knowledge that I hadn't studied this before. So once the records brought it in, I'm Googling it all to see, does this make sense? Does this make sense? And of course, all of it did, which was so fun when that happens, isn't it? And the information that came in was beginning to work with the 5 major organ systems. And this comes from Taoist technology, Taoist lineage, Taoist knowledge, where our lungs store sadness, okay? Your heart stores unforgiveness. The belly, your stomach, stores worry. The kidneys store fear. And the liver, and I can never remember which side my liver is on, so I just tap on both sides just to cover it there. Your liver stores anger. So I knew that I needed to work on these major tissues of my body. Now, how many of you have heard of the violet flame energy before?
I have.
Yes, the violet flame is a spiritual technology. It is the same energy of Moses in the burning bush. It is the I am that I am energy, and it's known as a transmutation tool. So basically what that does is it's a tool that's used in alchemy as well. It takes a denser element, a denser energy, and turns it into something that looks a lot more like rainbows and butterflies. Okay? And you get to choose. That's the beauty of invoking this technology, is that you get to decide what you're transmuting, what the dense energy is, and what you want to turn it into. Okay? So there's another very similar, I call this one the cousin of the violet flame, and that is the Ho'oponopono prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we got some Ho'oponoponos in the house. Ho'oponopono stems from the ancient Mayans and the ancient Hawaiians. And this is a prayer that, again, has been spoken over so many generations that these words have been consecrated almost like a spell that transmute old, dense energy. They release it from your body and allow it to become something different. So I used, in this case, Ho'oponopono, which is, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And there was one more piece to this medicine that came in. How many of you have heard of EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, right?
For sure.
We start on the karate chop points, and then we tap at certain meridian points around the body. My record said, screw that. You don't need to hit all of those points, but you want to tap on those soft tissues, those organs of the body. And you want to allow that to call the memory up to the surface, and you want to begin to release it through Ho'oponopono. So we're going to go through a round together, and I want to invite all of you to get very clear on what you want to release and what you want to turn it into. Okay?
Love it.
You got it? Tell me when you got yours, Miro, and then we'll start the tapping.
Yeah, I can. We're getting some amazing engagement. People are tagging their friends and are loving it. People are loving the Ho'oponopono. This is great. And the first thing that comes up for me, I'm going to play full out too. I love being vulnerable. This is how we roll, right?
That's how we roll.
So, as you know, my story coming from the streets of Germany, I made this like quantum leap to go to America within 18 months. And now I feel like I'm in a similar position where many of my friends know I never shut up about moving to California. It's been my story for, I think, over a year about like getting ready to move to California. And now I feel like I'm this close, and I still don't feel like I have a final sort of decision on it. Well, I mean, I have decided that I'm going, but like I'm kind of blurry and exactly on how it's all going to work. And I feel like there's some kind of self-sabotage happening in that process, and I can't quite figure it out.
Okay, so instantly what's coming in for me, Miro, is you had a similar experience moving to the place and living where you are right now. Can you see that connection of, I'm not really sure how this is going to work. Okay, I'm just going to go with, okay, we'll just figure it out. Yep.
Totally.
Okay. So that memory is still stored in your cells, and it's coming up to try to protect you, to be like, Miro, I don't know if you really want to do it like this again. So we just want to release that for you today. Okay, so thank you for that vulnerability. We want to turn that into clarity, confidence, and courage, those 3 C's that just popped into my mind. So we want to transmute that uncertainty, and that there's also a part of you, Miro, that is questioning the decision that you made, not to move to California, but in this current situation where you are. What's the best decision for me? So that questioning of yourself and your own intuition is what we're going to clear, and we're going to replace that for you with clarity, confidence, and courage to make this decision. So I hope just talking this out has already ignited for our audience here who's with us live, and those of you who are on the replay, which, by the way, this energy does not need, you do not need to be live here to experience the potency of this. This will be just as potent for you as you're doing it on the replay. Okay?
I'm feeling it already, and people are saying yes.
Yeah, I'm already feeling the movement. So I want you to get very clear on what you're clearing and what you're stepping into. Okay? And then we're just going to start the tapping. So again, the lungs are the fear. And you might feel some emotion coming up with this. You might be very stoic. Yep. You might stay super stoic. Doesn't matter. But the energy is moving regardless of how much you actually feel it happening. But I'm going to invite you to allow your awareness to notice what you notice about how your body may be tingling, how it may be the energy is already moving. Okay, so this is all the sadness associated with this, Miro. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do 3 rounds. I love you.
Love
I'm
you.
sorry. Please
Sorry.
forgive me. Thank you.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Forgive me. Thank you.
Okay, let's tap on the heart now. Okay? This is where we store unforgiveness, where you might not be fully forgiving yourself. We're going to release that. I love you. I'm sorry.
All right.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
I love you.
I
I'm sorry.
Please forgive me.
And thank you.
Thank you.
I love you. I'm sorry.
Please
Please
forgive me.
forgive me and thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to the stomach now. This is where you hold the worry, the anxiety. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank
I
you.
love you. Sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry.
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Thank you.
I love you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
Move back to those kidneys.
Let's
Gently tap on the lower back there. I love you.
you.
Sorry.
Please forgive me.
And thank you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
Did we do 2? That was 3, right?
Let's do one more just for good measure.
just for make sure we get it covered. I love you.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now the liver is where you store anger. That's just maybe a few inches above your hip bones, the pelvis right there, and the soft tissues of the belly. I love you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
I love you. I'm sorry.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
I love you.
I'm
sorry.
Sorry. Please forgive me.
And thank you. Deep breath in. Pause at the top of that breath while it integrates. This is the point of 0 point resistance. And then a nice slow exhale.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel, Miro?
Oh my God. There's definitely some energy moving, shifting, feeling like lighter. And let's. Louis says he's feeling a clearing in the Gowan box.
Yes. Thank you, Louis, for creating this sacred container with us. And here's another piece that's really important. As one of us clears, we are clearing it for the group. We're clearing it for the collective. So, Louis, the fact that you felt that clearing, you've actually strengthened the energy of this sacred container for all of us to clear. So I really want to honor you and thank you for that. It's beautiful.
So we're getting some questions and people are engaging. Let's love it. Love that. Welcome to that, though. We're going to dive right into your questions. So good.
You want to be? Will you be the facilitator of the questions so I can just stay connected and call in the genius? Awesome. Okay.
That sounds like a great teamwork right here. Cool. And I have some selfish questions as well, but we'll start with the audience.
You're a fearless leader.
Yes. So Janice, first, because she asked first. She said, what is the gift in my son's anxiety and agoraphobia? I think that's the fear of spiders. What is my role in this anxiety and agoraphobia? What do I need to do, can I do, that can move forward with his life?
Okay.
That's Janice.
Janice, just to be clear, are we talking the fear of spiders or the fear of going outside?
Yeah, please clarify that for us.
Yeah, because what I'm getting is, first of all, he's an incredibly sensitive being, and he's coming in from another point in the galaxy. So your son is a starseed. I'm hearing he's a rainbow warrior of the light, so you can do some Googling and figure out exactly the whole side of my body, the left side. Okay, so the left side of the body represents the divine feminine. What he's doing, Janice, is he's, first of all,
Fear of leaving the house, by the way. You got it.
Leaving the house. Okay, yeah. So he's very sensitive, and he doesn't necessarily feel comfortable in this earth environment. So this place is fucked up, okay? That's a bad French word I'll just use, so pardon the F word. But when we come from other areas of the galaxy that are higher dimension than we are here, and they're operating in a space of unconditional love, and then they ground into this density, it can be tough for them. So he's experiencing, because he's an incredible empath and he feels all the energy around him, it doesn't feel comfortable for him to be out and to be moving in this world. We can shift and change that. what this is inviting forward in you, because he chose you as his mother. Children choose their parents, and they come in to be with their parents, to help their parents learn, grow, and expand. Yes, they have their own unique mission here on the planet, but they also come in full contract to help us up level. So Janice, remember when the left side of my body all began to come alive? That is the essence of the divine feminine. This is an opportunity that you're being invited to discover more about your intuitive magic, more about how energy works, so that you can begin to teach him how to manage and control his energy. So he has agreed, his soul has also agreed to take this on so that you can begin to learn how magical you are in helping him learn to identify and release these areas of anxiety.
Wow.
That resonates?
What a gift. So great. So we're going to wait. There's a little bit of a delay, I think, with the comments, but as soon as she responds, I'll let you know. We can go to our next question. That was a powerful answer, though. I'm really blown away by that and how clear that's coming for you.
Okay.
Okay, so that was Janice. Let's see. Okay, so Biagio, my friend Biagio, amazing human being. He is in a tug of war about jumping in full-time entrepreneurship and working in the corporate world. I can't pinpoint as to why this is a battlefield within me.
Okay, well, you're definitely being called into full-time entrepreneurship, okay? 100%. The corporate world and how we experience big corporations, and it doesn't mean that I don't want you guys to get very big and be very successful, but big corporations take away the unique the aspect of a community where each one of us can show up in our own unique gifts and offer our gifts. Rather, we give ourselves away to work for somebody else, okay? What I'm seeing, Bijou, coming in is that you gain and you learn some, what I'm going to call limiting beliefs growing up. Let's take a look at who your dad was and what his role was in the world. And there might have been paradigms that were instilled in you that this is the way that you be successful. And when we incarnate into a lineage, into a family line, many times we will remain loyal to the belief systems of that family because there's an aspect of our soul that wants to love and be loyal to our family, okay? Bijou, it could also be flipping and be the more of maybe your dad had a difficult time sustaining and holding a job, and he wasn't able to fully step into his role as that divine masculine and provide. And so you took on the opposite. So many times when we're taking on beliefs from our parents, it's either the exact same or the exact opposite, but neither one of them truly serve the essence of who we are. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I would definitely recommend doing that clearing of your tissues, Bijou, on why you feel so loyal or like that's the right thing to do is to stay in the corporate world because it feels safer, right? That's really what it comes down to, is safety.
Awesome. So let us hear from you, Biagio, how that resonates with you. And then we already learned the method to letting go of some of those beliefs, so you can implement that. Janice came back. Whoop, I'm getting a phone call. That's not good timing. Janice is saying it does resonate very much. So she's full of energy. She says her son is resistant and non-compliant to help at this point. He is 20 years old. Anxiety started at 8 years ago, and the agoraphobia, so the fear of going outside, 4 years ago. So again, that sounded like it was the gift for her to learn her in supernatural or perhaps natural abilities, right? And then teach her son how to manage energy so he can navigate his own energy and outside in the world as well. Is that right?
Yes, and many times our children that come in that are completely non-compliant, they are ascended masters in human form coming in to teach us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my whole body just lit up again.
Wow.
Sorry, more information coming in for Janice. Janice, that's one flip that you can begin to really hold on to, is begin to change the way you see him. And rather than seeing him as sick or limited, begin to see him as a master. And that will also begin to change, because sometimes the masters come in and they don't know that they're masters. Just like Donald Trump Donald Trump is a light worker. Sorry to say, he doesn't know that he's a light worker. But he's here, one of the only kind of personalities, because he does not give a fuck what people think about him. Can he ignite so much polarity and bring to the surface so much that has been suppressed and hidden? Let people fight about it, let people get pissed at him about it, but eventually what will happen are these old corrupt paradigms are going to crumble because he's exposing them and he doesn't care what the consequences are.
Oof, that's bringing up a lot of stuff. I know that's a polarizing subject right there.
Yeah. And he doesn't realize that he's doing this, that he's playing this role for the planet. But that level of shift, that role player here on the planet, sometimes they can't know what they're here to do. Okay.
Love it. So Janice is loving this. I don't know what she responded this to, but she said mine did too. So maybe something about her full body reaction. That might have been what it was. She said, so powerful. I will see him now as an ascendant master. So that's profound. And Biagio says, I can relate somewhat to my late father's life upbringing. What about my mother's role in this? He asks.
Yes. So if your mother had a strong presence or a strong influence or a strong belief system about how she wanted to be taken care of and what roles she thought that the male should go out and play, or where she thought the safety and success was, that can definitely begin to shape how you go out into the world.
For sure. And Anna from Missouri is asking, from Kansas City, I know I'm meant to do more and have multiple ideas of entrepreneurship and what I want and need to do to inspire and help others, but I feel something is holding me back and I'm not quite sure what it is. How do I figure this out to move forward?
Okay. So is it Anna?
Mm-hmm.
Anna. So the fact that you have a couple different ideas is causing a confusion of which one to put all of your energy in and which one to really move forward in. So step one is figuring out which one makes you feel the most alive. And sometimes we can shut down to really know what makes us feel the most alive. I'm going to invite you to go back to what did you want to be when you were a kid? And which one of those is the closest to that one? Because there likely are some, which one's the safest? Which one's the best bet? Which one can I make the most money in? That is resonating underneath in you. So go back to what you wanted to do as a kid. Now I'm going to show you a way to turn your body into a pendulum that can give you more of a yes or no answer. Like I said, we don't want to ask so much yes or no questions in the records, but you can tune into your own body and allow your body to become this pendulum that can give you a yes or a no answer. So here's what you do. I want you to sit up nice and straight. If you're standing, this can work standing or sitting. Okay, and the first thing we want to do is we want to calibrate our body. So just sitting here nice and gently, get yourself nice and balanced, and then ask your body, show me a yes.
Body, show me a yes.
And then just sit really still until you begin to feel a movement. Like I'm feeling, normally I go forward for yes, but right now I'm going right for yes. This is what you want to calibrate, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what you want to calibrate before you begin. Body, show me a no.
Show me a strong no. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm kind of moving this way, right? So Anna, take each one of those options that you are contemplating and have your body, have your subconscious tissue who knows you. You cannot lie to your subconscious tissue. And let me just shut that door. Allow that subconscious tissue of your body to be your guide.
Well, let us know how that works for you, Anna. So she would ask herself a question about, hey, should I use this, entrepreneurship opportunity or go down this path? She can ask her body to get clear on what's more for her, right?
Yes, 100%.
And this might help Biagio as well on his journey to getting closer to doing all in and full time.
Oh, so yes, 100%, yes.
Sweet. Well, I want to be mindful of time. I know we only have a few minutes with you, and I still have a couple of selfish questions, and I know you have something to share with our audience as well.
Yes. All right, so let's get into some more of your questions, Miro, and then I will leave you all with a couple of ways that you can further this connection if you have gotten value out of today. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I'm excited for that. So I think for me, it's kind of like, and I love experiencing you doing your work. It's kind of like finding the balance, or perhaps I'm feeling called to kind of bring the sort of spiritual and personal inner work side of my work
Yeah.
more closely in the center of my way of helping entrepreneurs. And where in the past, I would build programs that help with all of the business sort of logistics, the avatar and the messaging and the fundamentals, the offer and all that good stuff. And it's still important to have its place, I think. But I'm just feeling like doing more of the, intuitive and like kind of letting go of the structure. And so I think it's balancing, and I think I'm not the only one here, balancing sort of the analytical and what makes sense side with the like feeling what kind of just feels fun for me all of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your answer is to that. Or is it?
Well, let me just clarify. Are you feeling like there's something that's holding you back from that, or are you just not sure how to do it?
I feel like there's another level that I could reach with my unleashing my gifts, even though it's getting more potent every single day.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like there's another level of confidence that I get to step into.
Yes. So I'm going to invite you into stepping into, this is going to sound crazy. Do you resonate with having a past life as Yeshua, as Jesus? Any part of you feel like there's Jesus in you?
I'm open to past lives, and that one particularly is a surprise to me. But I'm going to keep my mind.
Okay. So it can be very difficult if you've incarnated as an ascended master once, which you are right now. You have probably done it before in the past. Mm-hmm. So one thing I want to open all of you to receive is that Mero's probably not the only person who's incarnated as Jesus before, and even if that is bullshit and he hasn't incarnated as Jesus, this is the power of the story that changes us. So just embrace the story, okay? Mm-hmm. One thing that will also release you from being able to see yourself in a past life as an ascended master or a very high-level avatar is realizing that time does not work the way we're experiencing it. Time is running forward and backward and all at once, all at the same time. So if you take that understanding and then lay it on top of how Hollywood works, where we're always casting roles, we always need someone to play Jesus, you may have very well experienced an incarnation or a timeline where you are showing up incarnating as that particular role. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Okay, so I believe, Mero, that the second coming of Jesus is not what I learned in the Bible about the clouds parting and he comes back down and he scoops up those children who are his, who have come forward in church and been baptized, and you get to go away with Jesus while the rest of the world goes to hell in a handbasket. I believe that the second coming of Jesus is when all 12 strands of each one of our DNA come online. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jesus, as well as Buddha, as well as Lao Tzu, as well as many of these Christed conscious avatars. Christ is not a name that Yeshua was actually born with. It comes from the Latin Christios, perhaps, but there's a scientific connection that means all 12 strands of DNA have come online. Now, as you know, or if you don't, let me just preach a little bit. Jesus was performing miracles. He was walking on the water. He was multiplying the loaves. He was loving the unlovable. That DNA strand that ignites compassion in us is so important. And Jesus said, the least amongst you can do all that I have done and more. He was inviting us to step into our Christed consciousness. And I believe that second coming of Christ is when all 12 strands of our DNA come online and we fully stand in our mastery and our ownership. So that's one thing that's coming forward, is you're being invited to stand in that activation of all of your magic, all of your power. Sometimes we find ourselves in certain parts of the planet, and I know because I was in Missouri too, this is the heart of the Bible Belt, where there is this geographic and collective belief about what religion is, what it means to be a religious, a good person, who Jesus is, and we are not Jesus. Jesus is way out here. You're being invited to receive and embody the divinity of who you are. Okay? So you might have some releasing for the collective geographical location that you're in and that paradigm of belief about what it means to embody divinity. Some specific ways that you're being invited to bring this into your platform and how you work with entrepreneurs is take them into an altered state of meditation, an altered state of consciousness when you are giving them the structure. So those of us who have been trained in messaging, let's say, marketing, messaging, methodology, We know that there are certain things that we need to show up and we need to talk about who our avatar is and what we do for them and what they're going to be able to do now that they've broken free. Take people into a state of meditation. Do some alternate nostril breathing.
That's so interesting that you say that.
Where it balances the hemispheres, the masculine and feminine, and then let people play and see what comes out when they're in that state that's not constantly questioning themselves.
That's so powerful that you say that. We just did a live event, Get Paid to Speak Live, where I took my people who attended through a process of doing breath work, meditative state, asked for our ideal clients and brought them in through manifestation and did messaging and put it out on the internet right away. And so that really resonates deeply. So just doing more of that, where I'm moving the worlds and tapping into our higher states of consciousness. Badass.
Yeah, and many times that's how the records will work. It will come in for me like, oh, why don't you try this? And you're like, oh, I've already tried that. That's a confirmation that means that's the right track for you.
Cool. I can work with that. I can go deeper with that. So big thank you to you. I want to be mindful and honor and respect your time. This has been such an amazing experience, and I know our people got a lot of value out of it. So do drop us a comment and some love for Emily if you're still here. Maybe we can circle back and answer some questions later. But I'd also love to know from you, Emily, how can people dive deeper into your work? You mentioned you have a retreat in Sedona. That sounds really exciting. And you have some other ways that we can participate with your magic.
Yes. So when I started doing this work, it was all online courses and learning to read the records, online mentorship. And as I began to up-level and expand and do what Miro's doing, what does it mean for Emily to play? I wanted to be out in nature. I wanted to be immersed in the vortex energies of Mother Earth. So there are certain power spots, certain places where Mother Earth's grid has been fully activated. When you go into these locations, you immediately have an altered experience of your consciousness. It becomes very easy for you to reach those very high states of consciousness where you can tap the Akashic records, where you can understand what your mission is, and where you can call in a completely new timeline for yourself. You can quantum jump into a parallel reality. So I began to facilitate these in-person experiences, and we have one coming up very soon. There is only a tiny amount of space available left on this retreat immersion, but it's happening in Sedona at the end of September. So we've left a link for you for those of you who want to explore what it might be like to immerse in the vortexes. We have a native Toltec guide. In addition to myself, I'll be facilitating training in the Akashic records, but we also have a guide who will be taking us into the sacred vortexes, also into a sweat lodge. We're going to be working with a medicine wheel. So that's a really profound opportunity for those of you who are feeling the resonance, feeling the call for something really extraordinary for yourself, and you're ready to dive in.
So
for those of you, and then I have one more experience for you too, for those of you who are enjoying being in this frequency and you want to learn a little bit more about the Akashic records and specifically soul contracts. I also have a webinar training coming up in a couple weeks. It's going to be on September 9th. This is a free training webinar where we are going to use the Akashic records to specifically explore soul contracts. So I would like to invite all of you that resonate into checking out both of those opportunities. And I just look forward to continuing the conversation with you.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, Emily. Big thanks to you. I will make sure to include all the links in the comments as soon as the system lets me. And look also forward to having you back and doing this again. This is such a magical time. Thank you so much.
I would love to come back. And thank you all for who shared your vulnerability today, for just creating the magic here with us together. Because again, any aha moment that came in for you, even if I wasn't directly talking to you, is a message for you. And it creates more ability for us all to up-level when we have aha moments in this space. So thank you all for your participation.
So great. Janice is loving this. We're getting all great feedback. So big thanks to you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.